Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 419. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. How's everyone doing today?
Oh, you know, the huge. Pretty good. Pretty gourd, I should say.
Pretty gourd?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, Gordy. Tomorrow's officially the day where all these nerds stop telling me it ain't fall, because it's fall. I finally, it clicked. Something clicked into place. We'll talk about it later on in the episode. But, yeah, man, it's there. It's always there, you know what I mean? But there is a certain point where, like, you're just ready, you know?
I've been refraining slowly, like, it's starting to wither, the refraining, but I have like these string lights above my bed, and that is usually the only light source in my room at this point. It's just orange lights, and I haven't plugged it in since, you know, probably a little after Halloween. I've just been waiting to plug that shit right back in and just whip out the decorations and everything.
Yeah, I had a similar thing, but mine was more of a panic of, oh crap, do I still have all the Halloween stuff from last year? How much do I need to buy new? And all that fun stuff. Matt, are you ready to get pumpkined up?
You know what? I actually ended summer with a bang, because every day I was in Vegas, it was over 100 degrees, leading to the tailgate on asphalt and turf, which makes it even hotter. To me drinking more water than beer to have to stay hydrated. So, yeah, sure. Let's bring down the weather a little bit. But I think even at that point, on that Monday, I said, this sucks.
It was a sweaty hot? Because I feel like,
depending
on the...
Like it was probably 102, 103, but because of asphalt and turf...
Oh yeah,
everything was warmer. I bet it felt like 110.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And like any breeze we got, it was like you opening the oven door, which is not a breeze at all.
No.
So yes, for once in my life, the heat, I said this sucks too. So there it is. Around 110, 115 is where I can't do it anymore.
That's your limit. That's the upper limit.
Yes, but I did buy my Sam Adams Oktoberfest already. I actually had a great time reviewing Bud Light seltzers for you all 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, text message. Tap into our text message thread if you guys want to hear more about that.
That was watching of a certain thing we're going to talk about later here, where I eat a piece of humble pie.
Yeah, it We bought new bed sheets that ended up being way hotter than we thought they were going to be, and so they're returned, or they're donated. The company doesn't want you to return them if you've used them, but they'll give you a full refund if you donate them. So we've donated them, and then got a different set that are not as hot, because gross. Especially lately, it just out of nowhere we got this like second wave of summer.
That's anyway. September for you.
Yeah, God, I hate you, September. You know, wake me up, Billy Joe. They should put Billy Joe in the next Resident Evil.
As what?
Ethan Winters.
He might have a better personality.
He might have a face.
He might. If you are unfamiliar with Ethan Winters, you should go play Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, because it was on our list in 2017 of Game of the Year. It made it to our top 5, which means we're here to talk about it in our Game of the Year, a weekly segment where we look back at the last 5 years of Game of the Year top 5s and we rank them. What an interesting list so far. You can find the full list over on thefreecheese.com. Today we're going to rank Resident Evil 7 Biohazard This is the Mark show, but Matt and I have both played through it at this point.
Yes.
You didn't play it? I thought you went back and played it.
No, I attempted
right.
to. I thought I was going to, then I attempted to, and no.
All right.
I've seen a full playthrough of this game, though. I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Mark, do you want to lead this, or do you want to close this out? I'll let you decide.
You know, I think I will close it out because I am curious. Post GOTY discussions, how's this game aged?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's the cool thing for me. I played this. Was it this year?
Pretty sure it was right before.
Yeah, if because you went right into Village after it, right?
I think I did this and then 3. And then we had like a month or two before Village. But it might have been after one of those Village directs, for lack of a better term, that I got excited for it, jumped back into 7, and then, whatever. So, yeah, I played through it. The interesting thing to me with 7 is we did when we did Game of the Year, back then we were a little, by the time we hit Game of the Year, we had kind of collectively assumed that if we hadn't played a game, we just weren't going to play that game. And that was kind of where I hit with 7. So when we sat down to talk about it, full spoilers ahead, and, Mark just talked top to bottom about it. Going into this, I remembered nothing, which was really cool. Time had separated that from me quite a bit. So I really was fresh on it. I remembered some vague elements, you know what I mean? But it did not detract from any of the surprises. Yeah, I don't even know if I remembered that part. I'm not going to repeat it for the listeners at home, but Matt pantomimed a certain thing. But I don't even know if I remembered that. Although I think that was in the demo. Either way. Yeah, I think another big thing for me was I kept putting it off because I was going to play it in VR.
Right.
And then I think that was why I never ended up going to it. And then, because that was like the thing. And not even just from you, Mark, but like anyone who talked about this was like, no, you haven't played it if you didn't play it in VR. Don't talk to me if you haven't played it in VR. So I was very much like, okay, I got to do that. And then never did. But I finally played it, and there are certain things about this game that even though, I got through it and whatever, I remember there were parts where I made sure I played with the lights down. I did as much of the immersion as I could. I don't know how you did some of the stuff in VR. I would have been spooked. It was very, very good return to form. I was trying to contextualize it with where the series had been versus where it is now, because I think now in the wake of 7, we've seen 2 and 3 remakes, and now 8, and it's in a much different space than it was post 5 and 6, and even 4 for that matter, because 4 had been quite the departure from, the original core of what we expect of Resident Evil. Anyway, yeah, I think this 2 was the one that started it, but 7 was the one that really cemented my intrigue and desire in the series, where now I really want to go through all and see through everything. So 2, I was like, cool, yeah. And then 7 was like, okay, I need it all. So I, after 7, gone to 3 and then to 8 and then dabbled with Code Veronica, and it's nothing against Code Veronica. I just wasn't prepared for tank controls mentally and slower pace. And then at that point, I had realized, boy, I've played a lot of these Resident Evil games in the last little while. I'm going to take a break from Resident Evil. But anyway, all this to say, I think that what it did for the franchise is super dope. What it did for me and survival horror is super dope. I liked the puzzle solving of it. I thought that was just the perfect amount of I'm confused, but I can figure this out, and just the exploration, the way that you leave the house, but you don't leave the house, and just everything about what that was. It was, to use one of my favorite words, quite the recapitulation of the original, adventure through the Spencer Mansion, but done in the deep bayou. And again, the sequelization, but also part of the it felt like a brand new beginning in a way as well, and felt true to the original too.
Yeah. I have one dumb question and one not dumb question. Dumb question. there's a part where you have to give an item and you have to choose between two characters. I don't know how to put it. The one you're closer with is character A, all right, and the other one is B. Did you give it to A or B?
I think I gave it to B because
Okay.
I think I thought, well, that one can actually get me out of here, get us out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my thinking. And also, if I were in that situation, like IRL, I would think, well, let's go through this together. Worst case scenario, we're in this together.
Right.
But best case scenario, that one's going to save us.
And did you do the DLC?
No, I did. I started the Not a Hero DLC, and I know that I shouldn't have done that. I know that if I were going to do one of the DLCs, I should have done End of Zoe. However, I started with Not a Hero because, again, I was fully, let's Resident Evil this up.
Yeah.
So I jumped into that, did not enjoy what I was playing, and then just kind of walked away and didn't go back to End of Zoe. And then that was when I was like, maybe I'll play that 3. And I think 3 had ended up on sale for like $10 or something. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy that.
Gotcha.
I should and will go back. I bought it because I think 7 was on Game Pass, but all the DLC, you could get it in like a bundle for, I don't know, 15 or something. So I did that. So I have it ready to go. I just have to actually do it.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, what about you? Have you played it since then? You played it on PC since your initial.
So I think after playing it on PC, I'm glad that this game is still enjoyable even without VR. It is nice to see things in a slightly better resolution. But I don't know, it felt very intuitive, felt great. I still enjoyed it, like every second of it. I think it's a game I could keep going back to every here or there. But Village is also up there with it, so I don't know if I'd always play them together now or what, because you can kind of beat it fairly quickly, maybe like a night or two. So it's nice that it's digestible. You don't get many. I feel like there isn't too many, at least within like AAA games. There isn't too many like quote haunted house settings, and I like that the Resident Evil 7 incorporates that, and it's like being like a good like soft reboot in a way for the franchise after having like some pretty bad action heavy games before that, or at least the roots of it didn't seem to mend well. I still love it. The DLC, I feel, only heightens it. Like even the wackier stuff that's like the mini games in there and whatnot. Not a Hero, I can understand not being too into it. Because that's it plays different.
It played different story wise. It was intriguing, and then I think also now having played 8, it's even more intriguing than it was at the time.
Yeah,
but
to spin it positively, at least it adds variety, I guess, to gameplay. And same especially for End of Zoe. Probably still by far my favorite out of all of it. And I like that they're all just like the timeline of them isn't too far apart either, because like Not a Hero is technically like the real ending to the game, and then End of Zoe is just like a little bonus like epilogue to it all, so it ties it together very nicely. But yeah, but since then, since this was talked about at GOTYs, it's still one of my more adored titles. Still it's probably in my list of still like one of my favorite games, even though in a post-Village world. it's nice to have something like Village exist. So, because if I were to compare the two, like Village took everything that was great about 7. I feel like just kind of, for the most part, overall, advanced it in a lot of ways. But I still have a soft spot for it because of it being so new and so different. And yeah, I don't know how much more I can say about that. I haven't already said.
Well, you can do one more thing and name where this guy... Or Matt, did you have anything else that we didn't cover or hit on? Sorry.
No, it just this was the return to form that Resident Evil needed badly after 6. I don't like 6 at all anymore. And
it's very campy. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure has its ridiculous moments, and that is what it is. But it's in terms of lore and how it fits into the Resident Evil timeline as a whole, it does not. It is not there. But yeah, this was the return to form it needed. It very much feels like one in a new way. It's just the only gripe I have with this game, I think, is with every Resident Evil game, they have such a strong start that it can't keep that pace. And that I think that's every Resident Evil game in my opinion, even 4 and none of them can kind of keep that pace after that cool ass opening chapter or level or whatever. And this just falls victim to it again. But yeah, I think this was like the reboot it needed. 8 plays the way I like it, but I also feel like 8 is different enough from this game. I think it stands out on its own a little bit more because I'm able to play it. I think that is a scale of Resident Evil games that should be respected. Can Matt play it? Yeah, and to a degree, I think this does some things better than 8, and 8 kind of does some of these things better, like gunplay, of course. But yeah, no, overall, I think this was the breath of fresh air that Resident Evil needed after 6, the correct way to do a reboot. And yeah, no, I think this was an overall, even though I didn't play it, overall quality game for what I have seen, which is pretty much the entire game.
Cool.
I have a gut feeling where I want to place it, but I will let someone else make the call if they want to.
We should play a game of Do We Say Celeste this episode?
No.
I don't. You did, but I
oh, I'm not saying. That seemed to be a common theme for a lot of weeks.
Yeah, basing off this list, my instinct went either below or above Tony Hawk.
Okay, yeah. No, I am above it.
Yeah. I just keep below as an option because I don't want to,
Nope, you can say above. It's okay. You have support.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the more... Dude, it's crazy, like, how much time can shift things. But I look at Tony Hawk, I'm like, it's a really, really good game, and they did a great job. But then I look at this list, and I'm like, why did we put it all the way up there? So yeah, man, let's make some room at the top. I say this goes right below Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, right above Mr. Anthony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, I was only the only reason why I would even argue to put it below would only be because it's so new and different that coming with that is always, some things that's going to be lacking. And just, if we were comparing what things are lacking, I feel like Tony Hawk might have less to lack, but it's also playing it safe because of that, Yeah. No. So.
No, man, I think 7 is such a super good game. In so many ways.
I was gonna say it's so easy. That's why I like doing this after the fact, right? Like the DLC. Yeah, we did have the benefit of DLC. I think a Game of the Year when we did originally judge this, but I think in hindsight, it's now it's so easy to probably get 7 with like an Ultimate Edition or whatever that has all the DLC. So I think that's a big factor, and I think the originality of End of Zoe. I said that right? That's the title. I think the originality of that is really cool and unique. Also, in a post-8 world, like you said, not a hero is a lot more interesting than I think a pre-8 world. So yeah, I think those DLCs also help it put it where it's at as well.
Yeah.
No,
Very
I think
good
I think it's a good spot. So we're at 17 entries at this point. So we're close. We're not too far from completing the list. We have like another, I think, about 10 or 11 episodes. Barring, I think we still have one more addition that we can make, like from scratch. Someone else can add. I think Mark, you still have one you can add from scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we all have our move cards, so we can all make a move.
But the move is a non-debatable move, right?
It is that.
Yeah, so I think those can just be in the same episode.
But I think the rule, I don't know if we established it, but I feel like it's only fair if, so let's just say, for example, Matt came in and said, I'm moving Super Mario Odyssey to the top. I can't go right behind him and say, I'm moving Super Mario Odyssey to the bottom.
Not moving it back to the top.
Right. But I think that the move can happen a single time without argument, without contest. Yeah. That might get interesting if we started moving things to stack them or whatever. But anyway, yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, and we not only will get there, but we got there back to Innistrad, back to Magic the Gathering. It happened again. It's funny. Mark and I recorded last week's show. We talked a lot about card games and card-based video games and what makes the perfect card game and all of that. And as we were closing out and kind of looking ahead, I think I softly mentioned in passing, oh, that new Magic set is out next week or the week after or something like that. I might check that out. And then a couple days went by and I've more than checked that out. I spent $50 to pre-order the 50 booster pack, whatever pre-order thing was. Opened all of those in all. Just literally pack by pack. There's nothing better than that feeling, dude. Can you name one thing more exciting than opening a booster pack of cards?
You know, I think before booster pack, Happy Meals was the thing. But
yeah,
true,
that's a booster
right?
pack to your toy collection if you think about it.
Exactly. But that general idea of like a booster pack of cards is like a little gift that you got yourself. You know what I mean?
also,
like
just
these little...
saying the words booster pack.
It feels good, man. It feels good to say it.
Because this is what led to loot boxes. Be careful.
But a loot box isn't a booster pack.
I understand, but evolution happens and different traits occur. That's how.
Yeah,
that's why
happen.
I will refer you to last week's episode, the perfect card game, where you should be able to spend a finite amount of money and get everything you'd ever need. Which I maybe will have done for this set in the end because I have so many wild cards after opening all of this, plus just years of playing Magic the Arena without ever using wild cards until now. So for the uninitiated, this is not a crash course on Magic the Gathering. You can go download Arena, spend 15 minutes and learn it yourself. But the new set is called Innistrad Midnight Hunt. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Magic has what's called a story. So Innistrad is a whole land that's filled with like all the bad stuff that happens. It's cursed lands and a bunch of stuff that I have no business talking about because I've only downloaded the books, not read through the books. But there are books on Magic lore with stories and characters and all sorts of things that you can read through on the website page by page, or you can download a PDF and read it in your reader of choice. They also have it in ebook format with appropriate titles and table of contents and all that fun stuff. So anyway, the Innistrad area of the game is, as I've heard described by the folks behind Magic, one of the fan favorite lands or areas in the lore of Magic. Fans of Magic like Innistrad. And I can see why, because this set is all about werewolves and vampires and other horror-themed cards. This one, Midnight Hunt, is really about werewolves more than anything. There are some vampire cards. There are some other spooky things. There's a Fool, I think it's called Crimson Vow. And obviously Crimson, as you can imagine, is the vampire set. That'll be out in, I think, 2 months. But this one kind of brings Innistrad not only back out, but this is the first time Innistrad's been around in like the modern era of Magic. So there's never been any of this in Arena, but also there's been some newer things that have been added to gameplay for Magic that are new to Innistrad this time around. From my perspective, jumping in I never really got good at Magic or really fully understood Magic. You know what I mean? Like there's that thing where like parts of it click, but not, you have these like extra layers, and I'm feeling those things click a little bit more. I know I'm still not there, but so this time around, there's werewolf cards that are in colors other than black. And that's the thing that's interesting about this, because you'd think that everything that's cool would just be a black card, right? Because that's the coolest color in Magic. But there's actually cool cards in everything. And actually, like, the blue and the green decks have some really interesting cards and mechanics to them that make them just as coveted. So, like, one thing I really like, I see this a lot in the blue cards. There's an ability called Disturb that lets you bring cards back from the dead, or not bring them back from the dead, but you kind of put them in your graveyard, and then you can cast them from the graveyard if they have a Disturb cost attached to them. And sometimes, more often than not, the Disturb cost also has you transform the card to its backside where it has some other function, or it is one of them, it's like there's like a cool fisherman guy. You play the Disturb cost, you bring him back as like a creepy ghost man fisherman kind of guy, and he's like extra cool and spooky. So that's kind of cool. But in addition to that, Midnight Hunt has added a new day-night cycle to the game. The mechanics are kind of straightforward. When you start playing, it's neither day nor night. When you put a card in play that calls out daybound, it will make it daytime. Or if a turn goes by where no spells are, or 2 spells are cast, something like that, it'll turn to day. And then if no spells have been cast, then it turns to night, etc., etc. And then you have transforming cards that kind of like dictate, when it will change time. There's cards where you can just play that to make it night automatically, and then transform all the cards on the board that are affected. And there's a lot of like dual cards where you'll see a little sun or a moon in the top left of the corner, depending on which side of the card you're meant to be looking at. Depending on the time of day, you flip that. So obviously with werewolves, you have a lot of humans who become werewolves, but you also have other like creatures and things that change throughout the night, depending on that. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think there's still, this is barely a couple days into the new set release, and the physical release isn't even out yet, so that stuff will start to develop more of what works well. But I've already been having fun just kind of like deck building and seeing what works well together, seeing how the like Disturb mechanic, plus there's a new mechanic called Coven that lets you kind of use different tiers of creature together, but seeing how those things can complement each other, seeing what the day-night cycle is. Right now it's a little weird playing just standard ranked, because there's people who have their really, really good decks from the last core set that came out up against all these brand new cards that I'm still trying to learn. I'm also not good at Magic, so I'm still trying to learn Magic as well. So that's a whole difficult thing. But it's cool. I did finally hit a point. The first few decks I built and was trying out and play, I was getting destroyed. I sent you guys a screenshot where I was negative 54 to someone's positive 88, and he had built up a 1/1 card to 29/29. And it felt very much like when I first played our friend Akko way back in the day when he was trying to teach me Magic, and he was like, well, you don't want to do that, because if you do that, I'll do this and do this and do this, and then, okay, you're dead. And then we'd play another game, and he'd be like, okay, well, if you play that, then I'll just play this, and then you're dead. And it felt like that for a lot of Magic, but I got there, and I did finally get a win last night with a deck that I created from scratch, and not only created from scratch, but after I had played through a few rounds with my blue deck, I was like, okay, I can swap that card out because that one's not helping me in these situations. I need something else that does this, right? I like read more into like what I could do, and then I was really refining it, and then I did really, really well, and then it starts to click, right? You get that like kind of double gratification of not only are you winning, but you're winning because you created a strategy that worked really well. Anyway, I'm rambling a bunch about this stuff at this point, but I think it's fun and it's cool. But thinking about day-night cycle, what game does not have a day-night cycle that should or could have a day-night cycle?
I'm thinking like something like Pac-Man.
Ooh.
Like,
hold on, I gotta write these down because I might just start making ROM hacks.
Because daytime will be like casual mode. You don't have to worry about ghosts chasing you. Just go collect the pellets. Just go do your thing. You deserve a little break from all that stress. But come nighttime, you better watch it. Because
very much
freaks
like
come out
this.
at night. And hey, you know what? We can even replace the ghost while we're at it. It could be other creatures chasing you. I mean, it'd just be like cosmetic, but
Pac-Man with a day-night cycle.
Also, Pac-Man also kind of like, kind of already looks like a sun or moon. And, when he goes away, he kind of eclipses.
Dude, yeah, you could have some fun with that. Matt, you got anything?
I was just gonna be an asshole and say Dark Souls because that game's not hard enough. But then you got me thinking, and off the top of my head real quick, you think you can only do it in a Super Bomberman Online, but day and night cycle in multiplayer games where you can't see the board. So you just have all of a sudden you get flanked out of nowhere. Or you do the flanking in the night.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah, like, I like that. I like that we're sticking to, like, more arcadey games with this.
Yeah, because my mind immediately just went to Castlevania, and I was like, well, all the Castlevania games that didn't have a day-night cycle should have a day-night cycle. That's the
And the
obvious
one that did have a day-night cycle was fucking awful.
You haven't played it, and we've proven you. Look,
Dude,
we're minutes
you
away.
Stand in a corner to progress
we
the
are
fucking
minutes
game.
away from you putting your feet in your mouth.
I've seen the fucking sequence of standing in the corner for 10 seconds to progress the game.
I'm telling you.
That's okay.
I'm telling you.
I was going to say Frogger, because, like, what if at night you had to, like, avoid owls or something?
I feel like...
But all mine are always... Like, nighttime's always a threat. I've come to realize.
What if nighttime just got cool? No, I think Frogger didn't necessarily do day-night cycle, but they did do a thing in, like... I remember the PS1 game had multiple levels, right? Like, it changed what you were actually crossing.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man.
There'd be a cool... What if we like did the opposite, right? Like everyone thinks like the night cycle is hard, or it's the negative effects from the night cycle, whether it's like vision or something like that. Like, what if the daytime sucked and you can only play at night?
Yeah.
Like think of all the games.
Boktai 3.
Think of all the games where nighttime has negative effects. You got your Fallouts, Final Fantasies, your any RPG. Dota has this negative effects unless you play as Night Stalker.
I didn't realize Dota even had a day-night cycle.
Oh yeah, girl.
Playing as a character who's allergic to his sun.
But yeah, no, like what if
Dracula?
Like you were the vampire, like, and you had to hide from the daytime. I just want a game that does the opposite, right? Make you play at night and make you scared during the day. Dying Light is the example I've been thinking of this entire time, where you're scared of the night. Even though I've never played that game, but I know that is very much advertised.
Well, so I guess to that end, which games already have great day-night cycles besides the aforementioned Simon's Quest?
Sonic Unleashed.
Oh,
God
damn it.
What? I don't see the problem here. I don't see the problem turning into a werehog with stretchy limbs moving like Crash Bandicoot.
You're not wrong. There is no problem with it theoretically. I think the premise of Sonic Unleashed rules. I think even Matt would agree that the premise rules.
The backtracking is the biggest problem in that game.
Dude, the controls also, man. Like, I remember doing one of the
problem.
first. Yeah, one of the first boss fights I did was I felt like I was wearing boxing gloves holding the controller. It was awful.
No,
but man,
joke answer,
it's a
listener.
cool concept.
Sorry. But honestly, day-night cycles, I always think about Zelda. There's not much different to them, it's just time of day changing, but I feel like they do take advantage of it here and there for certain quests, like certain things, especially Majora's Mask takes a full force, because the whole system is time of day and whatever.
Yeah.
Joni's Mask.
Yeah. I forgot that was its actual name.
Yeah, get it right, man. I thought you were a real Zelda guy.
Yeah. Nope. Take that title away.
I mean, even the Hyrule Field at night in Ocarina was one that was very much like, I can still hear the, like, when nighttime kicks in.
Yeah, you're fighting all the Stalfos, and then you fight the big one after you beat so many.
Did Breath of the Wild do anything specific besides just lower vision? I can't remember.
I feel like there is. I just couldn't tell you because there's just so much to find out in that game. There probably is something. Like,
there's probably a thing where like only certain things come out at night. I feel like those dragons that you have to like get scales from, one of them might only come out at night.
That's the only way you can see the shooting star stuff when they land.
Yeah, there's that.
It's at
you
night.
need those to upgrade like the cool costumes.
Wind Waker had a stealth mission where you had to follow that person into town, and whenever she would turn around, you would pretend to be a cat.
Yes.
So I mean, it's very subtle. It's not like a major thing aside from Majora's Mask, I feel. But I like that they take care of it, and not too different either. But Pokemon.
That was one of the
like
cool ones early on.
Yeah, like when Gold and Silver came out, it was such a cool thing to see certain Pokemon only coming out at night, and seeing how like the towns and like music kind of changed with it a little bit.
When you could only like get an Umbreon at night and an Espeon at day, like that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, like Hoots were mostly wild at night, I feel.
Yep.
Just stuff like that I thought was just really neat.
Also playing this new set, that aforementioned disturb mechanic, right, where you're calling something from the grave and then bringing it back and it's just as viable as it was, or sometimes even more than, had me think about games where there's like permadeath or your characters die. And I realized that I don't think Fire Emblem has ever done necromancy, and I kind of really want Fire Emblem to do necromancy. Is there another game, just pivoting out of the day-night cycle, because I think that's a really cool mechanic in Magic, but I think also this kind of like raise your dead. Is there another game that could benefit from that?
Just necromancy in general?
Yeah, or like, I think about like, because Fire Emblem is one where like you get so tied to your characters, like that and XCOM. Like, what if we just brought them back?
And I looked it up. Only one Fire Emblem game has a necromancer.
Oh, there is one.
But
the Fates, the newer one?
Sacred Stones.
Oh, okay.
But it's the main antagonist.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's it. It's not a playable class. So yeah, like I totally agree. That should be a feature.
Yeah. Like I don't know why it isn't. That would be a cool like playthrough.
Yeah.
Like that would have been neat if that like House of Wolves or whatever they did, the Gray House from from Three Houses when they did that like expansion, have that all be about necromancy.
Especially especially if you were doing like the permadeath thing, right? And your enemy uses your own heroes against you.
Oh my god. How sick.
Yeah, like
I mean that's the Magic thing too, right? Like you can easily take control of people's things. You can grab something out of somebody's graveyard if you have the right cards, stuff like that. Like there's weird. I don't know if you can do that specifically, but there's weirdo stuff you can do that. Yeah, that would fully work.
Oh, like a PUBG. What if we made, instead of just viewing and leaving the lobby, you made an impactful? Because that was one of the fun things of the Halloween event during the first
Halloween.
year of the first year of, I can't even think of the name of the damn game, Warzone. That's it. They had that mode where you came back as zombies to try to impact and come back to life. I think a weird, dark, necromancy-esque battle royale. I think there's a space for that somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think now I'm going back to Super Bomberman because you brought that one up earlier. But yeah, those are good calls.
What, like, that should be like a Mario power-up where, like, you summon dry bones and, like, dry versions of everything and kind of use that to your advantage.
Was there, maybe it was a Mario power-up. I feel like there was something where you ended up with, like, 5 in a row, and everywhere you moved, you had 5 in a row, like, kind of side by side.
I only know about the cherry thing from, like, 3D World.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But what if you did the cherry, but you did that visual mechanic, but it was all
I'm thinking,
dry
like, he puts on, like, a witch's hat, has like a Kamek staff or something, and then, like...
So, I mentioned it in passing last week. Matt did not attack me. I promised myself I wouldn't antagonize too much, but I'll bring it up here. I have been playing Mario Kart Tour, and they have all of that stuff, man. Like, you can be Witch Mario, you can be Kamek, you can be
but it's just
cool
cosmetic,
Australian.
though, right?
Huh?
It's just cosmetic, though. It's not like, it doesn't
it's all
modify anything.
There are, like, weird abilities you can get for certain characters that do things, like, as your special power-up or whatever. Anyway, I think we should, at one point, talk about, like, the ramifications for Mario Kart 9 proper. Because, like, straight up, there's one just called, like, Sydney Yoshi. And because you're racing through Australia, there's the Sydney Opera House as you race by. There's Yoshi with a safari hat and a tan vest like all Australians wear. Like, it's the whole thing. And anyway, yeah, so I don't know what, like, the long-term thing is there or where that is. But anyway, there's they're already doing it in ways, man. Just go all the way. Let me be Witch Mario. Let me be Witch Mario. You know what I'm saying, dude? You see what I mean?
Or like an Odyssey, I guess as close as you're going to get, because you can be full skeleton.
Oh, yeah, you can. I should go back to Odyssey. Maybe that'll come up from the bottom of the list. One more thing. So I'm excited about this set. I've been having a lot of fun playing it. I do love the like universal nature of Magic the Gathering Arena at this point. I had not been playing on computer until this set, and then I sat down last night, installed it on my Mac again, and went through, like, opening all the packs on Mac. But I've had equally as enjoyable of an experience on iPad, on phone, and I got a little baby tiny phone, and it still, like, looks great on that screen. Still works really well. So I really, really love that, and I love that I can just kind of, at any moment, I can jump in, I can edit my deck, I can jump into a match, I can play for 3 hours, or I can play for 5 minutes. It's cool in that way, and it's made me excited again. One final thing I will talk about for Magic, there's a card in this set called the Heirloom Mirror, and it's an artifact that you play. There's a couple artifact cards that are really cool. I showed you guys off air the house that transforms into, like, a cool ghost house that you fight with. This is called the Heirloom Mirror. You put the artifact down on the board, and then you have to do some things. There's a description on the card. But if you do all of those things, you can basically make a creature come from within the mirror. You can summon this thing, and then it becomes a 4/4 creature card. It was a thing where, like, when I'm looking through the cards I was getting in each pack, and, like, any of the ones, obviously, like, the ones with cooler art draw your eye into it, but any of the ones that I was like, oh, I don't recognize that one, let me read that description, see if it works well in the deck that I'm planning on building. I'm kind of, like, doing that, reading descriptions, and I got to this one, and just, like, reading the whole thing and seeing how it transforms from just a simple mirror against a wall to just this giant bat creature flying out. I literally just chuckled aloud like a goof, and then was like, actually, this card is really dope and cool, but also it's so silly and weird. But, like, has there been a game mechanic in something you've played that was stupid, that made you laugh, but was also just kind of cool to use? Like something like this, or maybe like a weird Mario costume or something where you're just like, this, look at how stupid this looks. But it's also really cool in practice.
I don't know if I'd call it a mechanic, but anything that would cause ragdoll in a game.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden you just go limp. I always found that hilarious. Especially if it was like Red Dead or like Breath of the Wild. Especially Breath of the Wild, because like that's like a chain reaction, and then like you don't know when you're getting back up depending where you're at in that game.
Yeah,
and
when something bad happens to Link, you're just kind of in it for the ride with him until
but,
it's all
But that
over.
could also cause other things. So like there's, you know, it's what's the word for it? I don't know. There's a lot of growth with Ragdoll in that game, surprisingly. But I don't know. Like aside from that, what my mind went to was like anything multiplayer that involves remote mines.
Mm.
Is that like GoldenEye?
Yes.
You know, if you're just doing that, just trying to trap people, just trying to time it right, get them into that. Playing Crackdown 2, yeah, the rubber ducky grenades that are sticky grenades. Throw them all over a car. They're all like quacking asynchronous, and you and a friend play chicken, run into each other with the said duck-covered grenades, and see how far you fly across the city. I guess that's also Ragdoll a little bit. I can't remember if that game had it. And then Turtles in Time, throwing enemies into the screen.
Oh yeah, what a good.
Because it's like it's hard to pull off if you don't know like what you're doing, if you don't understand exactly how the physics in that game work. Because like, you have to like just keep holding forward until you grab them, and then you're able to like throw them, and then like that's a whole mechanic for a boss fight. So they kind of give you time to practice, but I enjoy it every time, and I'm glad that Shredder's Revenge keeps that.
I lost my train of thought. I was going to say one game before this one, but I forgot that one. No, the Metal Gear games are absolutely incredible with all the different dumb mechanics you can do to distract guards with the promiscuous pictures in the locker. Of course, you got your box, which is the dumbest thing to hide in the middle of the floor, but it works from time to time in a pinch.
Right.
But I think one of the most ridiculous systems was in Peace Walker and 5. They went alongside with the base building mechanic, the Fulton system, where you literally hook anything and it flies into the sky. God knows where, but it ends up back into your base. There's something satisfying with like the way like it pulled on the person. They're like, whoa.
I remember videos of that, just like people hanging by their single leg, just like whoop.
Yeah, and like you can almost fold. I think in 5 you literally almost fold anything, but even in Peace Walker, like the limited. I played it on PS3, but I mean it was a true port of PSP, so I like the amount of stuff you can Fulton for a PSP game. I thought was ridiculous, and the way they handled it and everything, I thought was great. I can't remember the other game I was gonna say. Oh well.
Oh, you reminded me now. In Saints Row 4, there's a dubstep gun.
Oh yeah.
And so like in general, you know, dubstep. But what if I told you there was other music genres you could be blasting as well? What if there was a metal gun? What if there was a like, I think, oh man, I don't know if there was like a lighter rock or like swing music or something, but my favorite one was this like Oktoberfest themed gun. So like blue and white checkers and like the vinyl on the gun, they all have like a spinning record on it, and this one had like a pretzel, and it would play polka music as you shot out. So it's just all these like home seeking waves. It's like one of the like dubstep guns, like one of the strongest guns in the game, if not the strongest. And you can upgrade it with like to where it's like almost infinite as you're firing. But just seeing chaos ensue around you, shit exploding, everyone's running and screaming for their lives, and you just hear polka music. And every time you start it back up, the song will repeat. And the song starts with a whistle. It's like somebody just like whistles very loudly, and then the trumpets kick in, or like the trombone kicks in, or like a tuba. Yeah, it's a tuba. So like hearing that whistle, it's basically the whistle of death. And then it's just hear this tuba going, and shit's just, I thoroughly enjoy that.
Do they have a Nickelback gun?
Maybe as a mod.
That would be the worst gun you could ever have.
Play every track at once.
What's the worst game you could put in? What's the worst gun ever? I think Nickelback gun might be the top of the list.
I don't know. Hinder gun, I think, might be worse.
Ooh, yeah. Dude.
I can enjoy Nickelback and whatever. I can take the judgment. Hinder, I couldn't. Don't catch me.
Along those same lines, my stupid Apple Music, I had to yell at the robot to say, please don't ever play this band again. I had to ask her twice. First nicely, second not so nice. Keeps playing Chevelle. When I do, like, you know, my personal radio station that kind of like feeds you things you listen to plus your own.
Do you not like Chevelle?
I was going to say, I personally like
who likes Chevelle?
Never mind. We can move on.
Hold on. Wait, who doesn't like Chevelle in this podcast? I think it's the issue.
Am I the man in the middle?
I think you are.
Dang.
I mean, I don't listen to new Chevelle, but like I think I
like
older stuff.
It's been a while, but I saw them live once. I thought it was pretty good.
Now I just feel like a jerk.
You can fall asleep to it pretty easily, though. I'll give it that.
Every song that came on was Nickelback-esque to me.
It's very it's very sleepy rock, but
look at this graph.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just I don't know. The ones it was playing for me sounded like
Guns N'
if
Roses?
somebody like someone who loved Nickelback wanted to listen to something heavy. You know what I mean?
I don't see that correlation between the two bands. I would just like
butt rock.
Chevelle to me is kind of like it should have existed way earlier than it did, and like fit in with the whole grunge era. But it kind of like stepped outside of that. It's more like alt rock, and I feel like it's like a gateway to Deftones.
Okay, all right.
I see it more like that.
Maybe I've misjudged.
Yeah, like, go back and listen to Hinder. That's probably a better connection to Nickelback.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of being wrong about things, Matt, you took the dive.
Yeah,
prices.
yeah.
It was after 5. You like prices.
I finally spent the money. The long-awaited Deathloop has been played.
Good job. Yes, awesome.
No. I'll eat my humble pie and say something I never say because I'm a perfect human being. I was wrong about Final Fantasy 15. Game has its flaws, but no, it is a very, very likable game that I'm heavily enjoying. All the way up to, I believe, Chapter 8 now. And I have to say, I went in on this, alright? I wasn't taking this shit lightly. I was gonna either embrace the bad all the way, or come out on the other end surprisingly pleased. It all started after I bought it, while waiting for it to download. I watched Kingsglaive to kick it all off. Yeah. Did you go back, Jode? I know I almost piqued your interest again on watching that.
No, I have not. The last few weeks have been real weird. Like I've played a bunch of Magic in the last week, but like, and I played some Final Fantasy 15 the week before that. But like, I don't know what is going on. I'm like, my evening time, you know what I mean? Where like I would normally play a little bit of this or watch some of this or what, just gone, man. Between cooking and whatever, I don't know where. So no, I like had the intention to, but I never found the time to sit down and actually watch it.
So like, all right, as a standalone movie, it's a complete mess. Don't watch it. It's not worth it. surprisingly, I'm not going to say I enjoyed it, but I didn't mind that I spent 2 hours watching it. Because I thought it was interesting enough. It gives you a good analysis on some of the characters that they just briefly show you in that first chapter. And there's a lot of context that I took from that has greatly helped me understand what is happening around me in actual 15. But yeah, like as a standalone movie, like they mention Noctis like at least 8 times and never show him or anything like that, which is very bizarre for a standard, movie if you're just watching it by itself. So yes, it is definitely geared towards someone that is about to play Final Fantasy 15 or maybe has played it. They're going back to watch it. But yeah, no, I'm glad I did it, because one of the problems I have with this game is the story seems very... It's not paced well. It seems like it cuts things at weird times and lingers on things for too long. It's a minor gripe, but like after chapter 1, which is when like Noctis' home city is attacked, like it is a very montagey scene where they take the scenes from that movie and there's not any dialogue on it. It's just music. And they expect you to remember that king is Noctis' dad from like the first scene, which is about 2 minutes long. They talk briefly about a ring, which I don't think you would know what that ring even what it does unless you watch Kingsglaive. Luna Freya just appears out of nowhere in this game. She is very much in context because of Kingsglaive for me. So like, I don't want to say it's needed, but I'm definitely glad I watched it, and it's helped me enjoy Final Fantasy 15 more than I think I should story-wise, because of all the context I got spending that 2 hours with that movie.
I'll say for someone who did not watch it and jumped back in, after I got to that point at the end of chapter 1, I kind of like assessed where I was, because you had kind of reacted about the, like, that you wouldn't have known those things without it, and it's like the tiniest little hints, but like when you first get to the one place, I forget which little hotel it is or whatever, when the dog runs up to you and he brings the journal or whatever, they do cut to Luna Freya at that point, and that was the first game introduction to her. So I was like, okay, yeah, and like they show you her and Noctis as kids, so you kind of gather that whatever. There's some radio chatter as you go in and out of diners that you'll hear like little things about the 2 different kingdoms and things like that. So it is not as spelled out, but contextually it was a little bit whatever. And then the ring part, they kind of mention it in passing, which like you said, it's like, it meant nothing to me. I'm sure that obviously having watched Kingsglaive, it meant a lot, but they do very quickly. All 3 of our buddies here are immediately just like, that was your dad, to Noctis. And like that I didn't feel like I missed anything by not rewatching Kingsglaive this time around. But I also don't know if like how much of that is me remembering my memory of Kingsglaive from the first time around, you know what I mean, or remembering parts of this game. So I don't know, but I just don't want to scare anybody off from this thinking like, man, I gotta watch this movie.
Yeah, like I said, I don't
mean?
think you need to watch it by any means. I think because you're right. Like a lot of it is thrown at you at chapter 1, and then it kind of moves on in a way. I don't know how it revisits towards the end or whatever, but like it kind of moves into its own story. I just glad I have the context for the world that's happening around me, because there are characters from Kingsglaive that are appearing in this world that I kind of already have a sense of, like, motives and things like that you might not get without the game. But like I said, I don't want to stress on that part too much, because like I said, it was a nice to have kind of thing. It's not a needed. The combat. Let's talk about this game's biggest problem for me. I played this game after Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is the biggest gripe I have with this game, because if this was 7.5 is 7 Remake, and that system is so much better because I get to control my other party members, because I get to control when they cast magic, because I get to, I can bounce to them to attack while the other people are auto attacking. I can do that anytime. I can bring up a menu to pause to kind of get my mind straight and strategize a little bit. But that is this game. That's my biggest problem with this game. I came to it after the fact. But I like the combat for what it is, and it's very much like 7. Like, it takes a couple chapters, but once you get it, it clicks, and you start to get good at it, and then you want to learn the advanced techniques. You want to focus on your blindside attacks. You want to focus on your positioning. You're warp striking it around. You're just warping just left and right to dodge because you're able to do that. And you're really getting really good at spending the MP bar and restoring it with the warp points and things like that. So my only gripe with the combat is, I don't like the magic in this game. I don't like the way you have to build the magic ahead of time, and then you can. I like having set magic with MP or whatever. But that's a personal thing for me. But I don't like the fact that I can really only control Prompto, Gladiolus, and Ignis like with those trigger commands, which is like their specials when that meter builds. It's my only kind of weird gripe with that. I just wish I had a little bit more control of them, but I think I want that more control because I've had that control coming from 7 Remake. We kind of talked about the story. So a lot of the areas feel samey. I mean, there is like a swamp area and like a forest area, and there's a couple dungeons that make it feel unique. But a lot of that main hub world feels very grasslandy with a little bit of desert, and it kind of all starts to look the same after a while. But that's a minor gripe again. The true painstaking part of this game is the side quest. I've only had like one side quest I've been absolutely interested in doing. There was another one that was patched in after the fact, and I was only interested because I found out it had a tie to Terra Wars, which is a mobile game evidently, but it made me interested to play it. But yeah, all the side quests feel like fetch quest. I don't like it. It's actually a step back from 7's bad quest. The only problem is 7 kind of got you to the combat quicker than these. This one you kind of have to drive in your car and listen to music because you probably haven't traveled that area and you can't fast travel. So like that's my number one gripe with this game is the side quest, and the feeling. I know, Joe, you told me both on and off air that like you felt like you got to a point where you needed the side quest. But even just like looking at the leveling for like the main quest stuff, you already feel that pressure early on to make yourself do the side quest to be able to progress, and get to new areas and unlock new things like weapons and things of that nature. So, so side quests are definitely the weakest part of this game for me. But like I said, everything else though, I mean, like story feels disjointed at times, but I kind of like what the story is. I like the character building. I think they do very good jobs of building the characters, the main ones at least, inside of your party. There's a part in midway where Gladiolus leaves for a chapter, kind of like, and I'm like, oh, kind of miss him. I wish he was around, not just for his weapon, but because he was that broody guy that put Prompto in his place or whatever. And he kind of started.
Yeah, and he has a mullet.
Yeah. Yeah, so like
not forget his true power here, dude.
So yeah,
that's
like
a man who likes Chevelle, I tell you what.
So like you get that character, you kind of miss that character interaction for that chapter, and it's kind of noticeable because you kind of got used to the dynamic of the boy band. But no, I seriously I'm heavily enjoying this game. I itch to play this game during the day at work. Weirdly, like when I put it down after an hour or so, I'm like itching to come back to it. Like last night, it didn't help that the Thursday night football game I thought was boring. I evidently missed the boring part, but during the Thursday night game, I turned it off. I never turn off football for video games, but turned it off and started playing Final Fantasy last night because I wanted to see how much further I could progress, especially for a specific boss fight for this topic that I feel like I'm just short at, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. But yeah, I know it. I would gladly say I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with this game, and I will definitely see it through. Now, I know there is that bad chapter. I want to see that for myself at this point. I actually don't know like why it's a bad chapter, so I'm kind of glad I don't know. I just want to kind of experience it for myself. And I want to see how the story pays off, because like I said, there's those weird moments of disjointedness. I want to see if Kingsglaive really does matter for the total enjoyment of it. But yeah, no, I will say I'm very much liking this game, and that like leads me to maybe this is more of a personal reflection, but like, you know, I always looked at a certain boss fight in this game whenever I had the itch to maybe try it, and it just looked like a complete fucking mess whenever I watched this game in action. But then, like, I started thinking about it, and I was so on board on 7 Remake from the start, right? Like, I knew I was always going to play that game. I thought it had a great, fantastic introduction. You guys even, like, hinted at last week, like, with how that game was presented initially. But, like, I wonder if I wasn't into that game, or I didn't care about it, if I watched gameplay of that, and I'm like, oh, that looks like a fucking mess. Like, because it's so... They're so similar, and it starts, like I said, personal reflection, but like some of the things that I've looked at from afar, I'm like, well, is it really that bad? Now, I played a Sonic game. I don't like Sonic. Simon's Quest, you stand in a corner for 10 seconds. Don't care. But like, you know, I'm starting to think of like maybe not the games that I've the trash talk on here or whatever, but like those games that I've never been interested in. I've started doing that already this year with Shin Megami Tensei and things like that. But like, you know, is it time to jump into a Persona game for the first time? Is it time to get into like a Tales game? Like some of the stuff that I've always just dismissed from over the years. And when I look at the game, like when I look at it in trailers, it's like, it's another JRPG. That combat system does not look like it's for me. Like, what should we start to, or should I like actually try it? And I think that's where our text thread that we mentioned last week came in, where it's like, dude, we just need to play these games. And I think you hit the nail on the head, like when we brought up the Nier Automata, right? Like, sorry, not we, you guys. When you guys brought up Nier Automata, like,
but we brought it up because you mentioned it in the text. That was all you.
But like, you know, would we have ever played that game without that demo? I don't know. I know I wouldn't have. And the only reason I didn't even play the demo, but you guys were so high on the demo and then played it after the fact, and were so high on it then that that encouraged me to play, and I ended up really liking it. So I don't know. It's just an interesting perspective. Like, you know, I think the power of a demo is very. The days of the demos are gone essentially. Like, you do betas for multiplayer games, but like that's just balancing, and you know what a Call of Duty is at this point. Yeah. But like, you know, like a single player demo for a game, especially in a game where like you start at the first level and you have enough action in that first level that you can carry your progress to the main game, I think can do so much for a game, especially like a JRPG coming into the American audience. Or I guess vice versa, like a Western RPG going to Japan, which probably doesn't do all that well. But like, you know, giving someone the ability to play that game for free, just for a little bit, even if it's like one of those time things, I think can go a long way into marketing and selling someone on a game, especially now as games start to become more expensive. You know, we're starting to get to the age of the game being $70 now. So, you know, these things are becoming bigger and bigger investments as time moves along. And the $70 doesn't include all the battle passes that you might end up buying and a DLC. And, you know, a $70 game, even a $60 game, can easily become a $200 game with enough time. So I just, I know, like, the development process for making a demo, it takes time away from the actual game. But, like, in the era of being more conscious about the developers and giving them time and space, I think it's worth it for all the work that they put into a game to allow them a chance to present your game or their game in a way that you can see it for what it truly is. Even if it's just for a little bit for free, to let you get your hands on it instead of showing 80 goddamn explain trailers and, you know, a 5-minute story trailer and, you know, these gameplay trailers that aren't gameplay trailers. Like, they show 30 seconds of a game. Like, I don't know how they consider that Elden Ring trailer a gameplay trailer. It's beyond me. It's not a game.
I think because it's in engine,
correct.
Right? And then that's the thing is if you just showed a cinematic thing, then people would complain about what. I think what you're describing though is like a bigger problem than just being able to play a game before release, but it's what marketing does now. Where like, and I don't just mean like the type of marketing, but I just mean the fact that video games, capital V, capital G, have become such a machine that there's such a this like feeling of instilling fear of missing out in people. Like if you're not there day one, why are you know what I mean? Like you need to play this thing right now because we told you it's coming out and we told you everything about it. And if you're not talking about it, how are you going to keep up on Twitter? How are you going to keep up on Reddit? How are you going to keep up on all these things? Like that's the thing that so much of this goes into that sucks.
And you're right though. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're right though, because like I was in Las Vegas and I started seeing the reviews for Deathloop come through, and I started seeing the 10s and the 5 out of 5s and the 99s or like the 90% on Metacritic and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe this game that I've been shitting on, ironically, is actually really good. Maybe I should try it. But then like, one, I wasn't near my PS5 to buy it, thankfully. But two, like, I'm playing through Final Fantasy 15 and having a great time. And there's another game I haven't gotten to yet, WarioWare, that I'm like very much looking forward to playing. And I just don't have time right now, and that's fine. And I will get to it. And if I get to it in a year or two when it's like $30 or something like that, then so be it.
Yeah.
Who knows? It might be on Xbox by the time I play it, you know?
Right. But that's the difficult thing too, is like, I think that especially, I mean, we record a show each week where we talk about video games and video game news, like, and we're constantly surrounded by these things where we see everything that's coming out. Like, granted, I'm actively excited for Shin Megami Tensei 5, but seeing in my RSS feed every day, like the daily demon videos, I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, but like, there's just this machine for all games and all things. And it's tough. I think that was why I fell into the hype of 15 to begin with, was all of that. And 7 as well. It was just like, I didn't want to miss out on the conversation. I didn't want to not see what everything I was seeing was talking about. But interestingly enough, now I know that like I'm playing it a second time and I'm playing it 5 years after the fact and whatever, it's a little different. But with 15 this time around, I love the combat. And I think I like it better than 7 in some ways. Because there were parts of 7 where like I hated controlling Barrett. I just didn't like the ranged attack. I like getting real nitty gritty, right? Like getting in and actually fighting. And with Barrett, like having to do the range stuff, I didn't always love. I do love the character switching, because that was my thing the first time I played through 15. I was like, I wish I could just be Gladio. I wish I could just be Prompto. But now I look at it in that lens of like playing the original Final Fantasy, and on the main battlefield, the overworld, you're controlling your main party member, and then in battles, you're assigning things to do. It's just like this is a little bit more active than those, and like I look at it in that frame and I kind of like it, and I like the balance of it, and I like the weird. It's different. It's very different. I think also this time around, I mean, this is separate from where we were headed, but like I'm also approaching this a lot differently. Like I treat this like a story that I'm hanging out in, like a fairy tale, right? Like I'm just kind of hanging out with some friends in a car, and that's it. So like going to the side quests, I hated them the first time around. I actively didn't want to do them. And now I'm like, it's all the way over there. All right, cool. I get to hang out in the car with my friends and listen to some music from Nier. Like that's how I'm treating it. And it like works weirdly this time. But I think that feeds into like expectations and how we act on those expectations of a game and what we want out of a game. And I think so much of that, like, it's new, it's hot, get it now, that crap ends up being like, you go into a game with the expectation of like, I need to see this game to the end because I need to know what the ending is so that I can know what all of the things are, and that's it. And I know I played games like that for years and years. And I think there's, to your point of like, I've never played a Tales game. I've started like 3 different East games, but I've never finished any of them. And like all of those like genres and franchises and things that you just never play with. I think something I thought of when you were initially bringing this up is like trailers, screenshots, all of these things for games immediately implant what we assume a game to be. And I do it too with movies or shows, right? Like how many times have you scrolled through some streaming platform and you're like, I don't know what I want to watch. And you start going through, you see 4 seconds of a thing, and you're like, I know what that is. Nope, I know the whole thing. Even though, like, you haven't seen it, and really all you should do is just pick a thing and watch it. You end up like writing the story in your head, and you assume where it's going to go and whatever. And even if you're like 95% right, you still don't know. But like, good example was, yeah.
I was gonna say it's the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but the cover is become 30,000 screenshots, 30 trailers, 5 press conferences between TGS, E3, Gamescom. Jeff Keighley's talked about this game 3. Like, all that has become the cover now.
Yeah. And it's become as integral as getting your daily coffee, right? Like, it's like the same thing. Like, you go to the store and you get your little sandwich from the shop each day, little lunch boy. And then you're also getting your today's Deathloop trailer and today's Deathloop screenshot and all of that stuff. It just becomes a way of life in a way. But like, I remember when I played Fatal Labyrinth at the beginning of last year for the first time. Had never played Fatal Labyrinth before outside of maybe in that Genesis collection on PS3 or something like that. And anytime I had seen it, it was always like, oh, it's one of those. You know what I mean? That you just kind of have this assumption of what it is and and whatever. Then I actually played it and let myself get into it, and it was so good. And like, same thing with the original Phantasy Star, like going through and doing dungeon crawling and all of that got me into dungeon crawling games. And then I started trying, what does a modern dungeon crawler look like? What does an old one look like? What does one that was on PC that got ported to NES look like? And like doing all those weird things and just kind of letting yourself get lost. But I think marketing is a tough thing. And I think just playing stuff sometimes, to your point, like if demo discs were the thing, right? Or playing a demo standing in a Walmart with your neck all the way up. Like, that was the thing. And, yeah, Mark, sorry, I feel like I've dominated this.
I mean, I've been just quietly agreeing with everything that you two have been saying. Like, the way that the business of video games, the way it's handled, it's there isn't much of a pulse there anymore. I feel like they don't have, like, they're kind of seeing what works and just only repeating that. And I guess that's just how any business is like. But yeah, there's something with hype where it's just, it could, like, it always feels good at first, but then the more it's around, the more you want it to stop. And then by the time the game comes out, you're just exhausted because all your hype is depleted by that point. I feel like we kind of treaded that in another episode, but yeah, like having the demo, especially a demo that can carry your progress over, more importantly, depending on the game, that is definitely like the sweet spot. And like being on Steam versus like console platforms, you are a little more open to seeing demos and whatnot. But even though we are in an era of like early access and like a game is never really finished, even if a game is gold and released, it's never finished. There's always more to add. There's always more to patch. There's always more to fix, what have you. But it is still nice to see demos here and there. It is nice to have somebody like Jeff Keighley come around and give you like a whole event based out of it, where it's like, hey, these games aren't usually demos. This is your time to play them as demos. Then it makes you question, why aren't more games like this? Why did this have to be an event to begin with? It should just be like a almost a normal thing. But it seems to be all hyped around, hey, please get this at full price before we mark it down in a year or two. And it's like, well, all right, I guess it depends how much I care about the devs and all that, but like most people that are playing video games probably aren't thinking about this stuff. The majority of the demographic that most of this is targeted to, which is probably in an age range younger than us, aren't thinking about the money side of everything, the business side of everything. They just see game,
the human side of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to make blanket statements, but like, or like be reductive to anybody like younger than me or anything like that. But just going from what I was as a kid, I wasn't thinking about that stuff. I see game, I want game. Like it worked. That was a thing. I see commercial, cool. But yeah, but it wasn't also like 50,000 of the same commercial, or you were limited to being bombarded because of the way our access was limited. Like like broadband internet, maybe dial up, maybe the magazines, like a few video, a few TV commercials here and there, and then maybe some posters at 7-Eleven was like the most of it. But then, I think internet has definitely become like a battle axe of sorts.
And it sucks, dude. I hope that, like, I don't know if you guys saw this, but in the last week, Lana Del Rey and Britney Spears deleted their social media. And I think it's awesome. And I hope it inspires more people too, because I think that we've gotten so tapped into this, like, I have to react, I have to see, I have to be in this thing, or you genuinely feel like you're missing something. And it's habits that are hard to break too, like the habit of, like, I tried to, like, practice this myself a bunch with especially movies, where if I finish a movie, I just sit. I've always, like, sat through credits and just, like, watched the names and, whatever. And that's always been just a part of the pastime for me. But I've also just tried to sit and think about what I just watched, because for a decade, probably ever since we started carrying around computers in our pockets, my reaction was, well, I got to check Wikipedia now. I got to go to IMDb. I got to see who that person was. And, like, I'm trying to break those things. And I feel like I did break that one in particular. But I think so much of, like, games and all that stuff, it's like, and I still do it. I'm not saying I'm, like, some cool, hip, martyr, rad, Zen monk man or some crap living on a mountain, no matter how long my hair's gotten. But, like, there's things, like, where I will play a game now and I'm like, I should check the subreddit for this game to see what's happening. Like, there's still that thing just ingrained in us. And I think the more that we can get away from that crap and we can unplug the machine from us, this sounds very hippie-ish, and I don't mean to sound like that, but, like, I think we've become part of the problem. And like Mark said, right? Like, they found a formula that works. So they're going to keep doing it because we keep reacting to it the way that they want us to react to it. And we keep buying the thing. And, like, how many games have you bought and then not finished? But it's okay because you had to buy the game. You could not buy the game, And
like, to add to that with their strategy, or what sadly works, and I wish it didn't, is countdowns.
Oh.
Countdown to a teaser, or like countdown to a countdown. Like, that's like, it's as bad as when you're watching a movie trailer and it shows part of the trailer in, like, the first 2 seconds before starting the like, why stop? Just
dude, you should have seen the chat on Twitch or YouTube. I forgot where I was watching it for Battlefield 2042 when it was time for the trailer and then it was another 30 minutes with, like, weird noises in the background. I was like, what?
Yeah,
it was bad. I mean, I'm still gonna buy that game at launch, but that one was bad.
Well, but I think, like, there's room for it. Like, this week, Sega announced they're going to announce some RPG at TGS, and there's a countdown site for that. And, like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, there is an excitement to that. And I try to think, like, if it were, like, 1997 and we heard that there was a countdown for whatever, like, that might be exciting. But I think the problem is, like, there's been so many of them and so many of them done poorly that now the whole thing's tainted and it can't be fun for anybody.
And to jump back to what you said about, like, the jumping into the subreddit and stuff like that, like, I do that, but, like, I do it to see, like, I don't need to, like, I don't do it for, like, the story purposes or, to break down something, but, like, I do it, part of the reason for beating Dark Souls is to, like, to not spoil myself going into the community and just seeing all the dumb shit you can do. Like, right now, like, I am, like, in a crazy YouTube thing of watching all the different ways to beat Dark Souls in the dumbest ways possible. Like, earlier today, I watched one where someone used absolutely no stamina and beat the game. Like, I just like that is amazing to me. Like, I struggled beating Ornstein and Smo. Meanwhile, he's using an all magic build, no stamina, and just absolutely decimated them in, like, 2 tries. I'm like, how? Like, it's that stuff in the speedrunning community, and, like, just seeing all the weird ways to break a game and just weird ways. Like, I like seeing that stuff after the fact.
I think for me, sometimes it's the bad thing that I do is, like, that the worst one that I do. I don't say that I do it frequently because I've become aware of it. I think once you become aware of it, you can start to break it a little bit. But the worst one I did was just the validation of your own reaction to something where it's like,
Yes,
this is how I feel. Anybody else like this? And
I did that just the other day. Watched a movie and then I went on Twitter to see if what's the majority consensus on this, and am I crazy or is everyone else crazy? And I'm stubborn and I think everyone else is crazy, but but I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think people are very quick to react to anything and to be very critical so quickly, and they're just so emotionally invested from the start. And it's like, I get that. I've been there. I usually am there, and I know that's not good. But at the same time, you shouldn't ignore it entirely. There's a reason why it triggered you the way it did to feel that way. I think there's something there. I think it just needs time to cook and whatever. But if you end up being like somebody that's just like, you didn't like it but everyone else did, that's fine. Like, that's completely okay to not like something. Just, you don't have to put other people down in the process, or the other way around. You don't have to like overly defend something because you think it's so good that like you have to put other people down just
because you're not in the majority too. I think that's another one too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do right now is like when anyone brings up Star Wars and like how it ended with Episode 9, like I'm in the middle. I thought it was a popcorn movie. And I think that's what the new Star Wars movies are, right? I don't think they're like these great masterpieces. I also don't think they're piles of shit. I'm just like, they're popcorn movies. I enjoyed them. And like, whenever I say that to someone who's like very one way or the other, they get so mad. I don't know why. Like, just let me, like, I even went let me. I just like saying it now to piss off people. It was like, I thought it was a popcorn flick. And name, like, there's more bad Star Wars movies than there are good ones at this point now. So who the fuck cares?
There's so much Star Wars to enjoy as well.
Yeah, I know. Who cares?
And if you liked it, who cares what someone else thought? You know?
With all that being said, though, be ready for my 140 character review of Halloween Kills as the credits roll in the theater.
Yeah,
also come in the Peacock.
I want the 140 character review of Final Fantasy 15 also.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we got a good groove going conversationally, so I'm going to say let's skip a break. Let's jump right in and talk about Rogue Jack to bring us home for the week. Or, sorry, Rogue Jack Roguelike Blackjack. The full title.
Yeah, I don't know why it's the full title, I'm going to be honest. It feels very redundant. Maybe that's the point. Yeah, so I just found this on a whim after kind of talking about last week about getting into like the whole card game talk and stuff, and it just happened to pop up in the App Store. I was like, okay, interesting. I like using playing cards in anything. I play Solitaire a lot, as I've talked about before.
Get those Microsoft achievement points, boy.
Yeah, you know what? Klondike Solitaire. I'm almost level 30.
There it is.
Everything else is not even a 1. But I did finally try the other ones, and I like Pyramid is also fun.
I like Pyramid. I do like Pyramid.
Yeah. But okay, so Rogue Jack, Roguelike Blackjack. Title says it all. It's Roguelike Blackjack. You play as a dude named Rogue Jack. Not much story. It's just a simple little dungeon crawler. I guess that's the right. No, a roguelike would be the genre, right? Where it's like top down, you kind of move around like on a grid, and enemies kind of follow you to attack you. Like,
I think dungeon crawler is more accurate. The roguelike is more like
because dungeon crawler is like first person, right?
I consider roguelike more the gameplay loop.
Okay.
Yeah,
than the genre.
Yeah. Same. The loop. That's the key.
Okay. So I mean, you are you know, yeah, because you're in a dungeon the whole damn time. So dungeon crawler it is, regardless of point of view. And it's very simple. You go through randomized dungeons, fighting a specific amount of enemies, and you find stuff along the way. And it's just kind of that. It's just rinse, repeat. I liked it for the time, but now it's gotten to a point where it kind of got like, I don't want to say redundant, but it got stale very, very quickly. But playing the first couple levels of your character, every time you level up, you are a different class, and the way you battle in this game is that you are playing blackjack with every enemy. The screen doesn't transition into a thing. It doesn't make a whole big cinematic thing out of it. It's just boom, right there. You see their cards. You have your cards, but you have, like this hand pops up, like not a human hand, but like your card hand. And it's usually face down. And you tap it, and then you start off. I think you start off with one or two. And those cards are always random, and they're not always face up. They're usually face down. But as you're progressing, as you're leveling up, you have 3 cards to choose from. And the more you level up, you have a higher percentage of those cards being face up. So you have usually a better chance of trying to get 21 or near 21. And depending on your enemy, if you lose to them, you might suffer different effects. Depending on the enemy, you might have an item stolen, you might have money stolen, you might get frozen for a little bit, you might get poisoned. If you tie, depending on the enemy, they have the advantage and they still hurt you. Because, like, once you're the victor, then you do the damage. And your damage is also dictated by what you have equipped. The classes are a little weird because you can go from being a knight to, like, a monk to a cowboy. And then back to, like, a different type of knight or something. So you can find a shotgun in the level, but like it might do 2 damage initially, but if you're a cowboy, it does 3 damage. You might find stuff like that. You might find a staff that does 3 damage, but it has a 15% chance of cards being face up more. Or you might have, it's usually just stuff like that. There's always like a little toss up with some of the weapons, but there's only like maybe 10 total that I've run into. So you see them a lot. And like the enemy variety is also, there's variety. There's variety with all of it. There's variety with weapons. There's variety with shields because you have those equipped too, and they they can take 2 to 3 hits before it starts affecting your HP. And that, obviously goes up as you go up. It's heart based. So if you lose a match, if it's a enemy doing standard damage, you'll lose 1 heart. But if you're fighting like a cave bear, for example, and you'll lose 2 hearts. Or if you're fighting like a wyvern, you might lose 3 hearts or something like that. There's vending machines throughout the levels. You spend your coins on that to get either a weapon, a shield, or a potion of some kind. Or you might, I don't think you get more money out of any of those. There's one with like a question mark, and I think it's just random, like out of those 3, but some of them are dedicated, like, hey, this is a weapon vending machine. You want to pay this much to get said weapon. It's like, okay. Sometimes you have to clear a whole floor in order to move on. Sometimes, and that's like it's like a trap door, and you have to, like, the last enemy has a key, opens a trap door, you move to the next floor. Or it's not a trap door, it's just stairs, and you can just try to run to the stairs if you just kind of want to get through it. And for every level that you go up, there's an extra 100 points that you have to get experience to move on. So it's like, all right, first level, 100 experience. Next level, 200 experience. And that can be a little exhausting after a while. Because now I'm at the point where I need 500 experience. And the way that this system works, like it's a simple game, but the RNG of it all, it's not that broad. You can kind of see everything for what it is before even reaching where I'm at, like, which is kind of sad. But like, you start to see a lot of the same enemies. That doesn't really change up anymore. You see the same weapons all the time, and like the stats on those never change. It's always going to be this holy staff that does 3 damage and has a 10% chance of seeing more cards face up. It's never going to be that same staff that does maybe 1 damage and you have a 50% chance of seeing more cards face up. Like, that stuff doesn't change around. Like the enemy types are always going to be the same. It's like the same 10 enemies. And, like, the more you go, the more you just have a better chance of just trying to get 21. And it's like, there's not much reason to progress if there's not much variety outside of that. Like, I don't have a real reason to keep going other than maybe, what class am I going to be next? Because I haven't got Spaceman yet, but I see cards where it's like, hey, if you're a Spaceman, this does 1 more damage than usual. But I don't know if I really care to be a Spaceman for that thing, because there's not much incentive outside of that. I don't know how many floors this is. I don't know if it's endless. I don't know if there's a final boss. But I've reached like 30 floors, 30 plus, and haven't run into anything different since floor 5. Like, it's kind of been the same the whole time. So there's a lot of potential here. I think it's a good foundation, but there's definitely, it leaves some things to be desired. But through it all, going back to the name, I do like this mechanic of playing blackjack as your way of determining if you're going to be the victor or not. Because you can, like, if you have 3 cards being shown to you, 2 of them might be face down, 1 might be face up. And you might want to play it safe and go for the face up card. Or you might want to push yourself and go for a face down card. And is that going to screw you over? Are you going to bust? Like, you just don't know. And, there's penalty set, there's risks. So I love that. I love that sort of challenge. And I think that is its strongest part. And it got me thinking, like, how do both of you feel about having, like, a gambling or, like, luck-based mechanic in a video game? Is that something that you look forward to? Is it something you dread? Or is it, like, you just kind of, like, indifferent about it?
I think it depends on the implementation and the game. I think there's the wrong way to do it, which is loot boxes or booster packs when done wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that something like in Symphony of the Night, when you have a luck stat that dictates what can drop, means that a game that I fell in love with 20 years ago, almost, well, no. Yeah? How's the math work? Yeah. 25 years ago, almost, can still feel new in some ways, right? Because you play through and you might get a weapon you never got before, or you might get an item. There's still items that I find in that game that I'm like, what? And where did this come from? So I think there's stuff like that luck or gambling can make fun. I think also this plays more into the roguelike part of it, but like the fact that playing through something like a Spelunky and not knowing which items you're going to get on a run or which enemies will show up where, it's a little bit more the randomization of things. But I think that can be fun.
Yeah, the luck stat, especially in a game, I never go through these, and I always want to, but like at my first playthrough, I can't bring myself to do it. Like a luck build in a game, like a Dark, I think Demon Souls has have a luck stat. I can't remember if Dark Souls has one or not, but like Yakuza, I saw had like a luck stat and like a luck build. Like when I was one of the occupations. One of them revolved around like a luck stat and luck rolls and things like that. I think that's where it shines the most at. I really liked it. It wasn't built around luck, but like I think one of the things that I liked about Hearthstone so much was a lot of it, especially early on, a lot of its mechanics had like a scaled damage range or like a scaled like hit a random opponent kind of thing. And it kind of like, if you're playing competitively, it sucks. But like for me, I never plan on playing it competitively. It just made the playing field a little bit even if I had, I was a free to play player against a paid for deck. They kind of even the play field just a little bit. But like in your MOBAs and your things like that are competitive, you need set stats. I think that's where that stuff does not shine at all. It would be one thing to like be playing for $1 million in Counter-Strike or something like that, and your headshot damage ranges from like 75 to 100 damage. That's not a fun outcome there. But yeah, I think in like your casual multiplayer games it can be a lot of fun, and like I like the idea of doing a luck build in a RPG or something along those lines.
And like with Rogue Deck, like, it got me thinking about like other games that kind of like have something similar, like I mean card games, especially Pokemon, like flip of a coin, right? Like to do something, there is some risk there, there's some gamble there if you want to do that thing that involves, you know, the coin flip, and like are you ready to receive the bad end of it if it happens to be that? Or like in Final Fantasy, right? Like if I remember correctly, Tifa has like a thing where it's kind of like a slot machine, right? And I think Setzer, or however you say his name in Final Fantasy VI, like he's also like he is a gambler. Like that is his class, I believe.
I completely forgot about that mechanic, and yes, fully.
So like it's cool to see a lot of that, like that side of luck, you know, the more like casino type elements being in things. It's cool to see that so like unconventionally used in different ways like that. Do you think, like, would you have like a character or a game that you could see having this mechanic, or if there's one with this already, would you alter it in any way?
Thinking about the Final Fantasy VI implementation, I think there's something to that where if you, I think, like, okay, what about like a Spelunky, where instead of it just choosing, because I think a lot of the Spelunky characters, now I haven't played 2 yet, but I think a lot of the characters are cosmetic changes only, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of gameplay mechanic changes. But what if, I guess Spelunky's a bad example because it's kind of like gambling every time you play, but something like that where you go on an adventure where your character is seemingly, you know, doesn't matter who you pick, you're going to have a relatively similar experience. But what if there is one where that changes kind of what they can attack with, or what they could, yeah. Now I'm just making up games. I'm not thinking of an actual game. Sorry.
Well, I mean that works too. Like I should probably add that to the question.
Mask in Majora's Mask.
Hey, like, yeah, I think we're onto something there, because with Setzer, I think when it comes to that slot machine stuff, I think you should be able to, like, I would alter it a little bit. I would have it to where you can invest your own gil, right? Is that the currency for that?
Yeah.
I would have it to where you could actually incorporate your own like in-game money to have a greater outcome or a greater chance of it being successful, or something like that. And then, but that could also mean a worse consequence, you know, if it doesn't go your way, something like that. Because I mean, maybe it's not good to embrace gambling, or however, but as long as it's with in-game currency, I think it might be okay. But if people have gambling problems or addiction of any kind, I wouldn't want to encourage that.
They shouldn't play modern video games then, because it's all baked in with it.
Yeah. But I just love having those elements in there. Like, even with, like, in fucking Pokemon. That part. I think Sonic, like the casino levels where you get just bonus lives by dropping him into a thing, and slot machine there. I think those are fun. Like, it's completely optional, but like, or sometimes you might need it, but like, it was just to get more rings for the most part. But
generally, yeah. Matt, you are literally just fresh off. Hit it. What you got, Mr. Gambling Man?
Oh, I don't have anything in particular, but I was thinking of, like, what if it'd be cool if we combine a mechanic we talked about earlier, a day-night cycle, and the day-night cycle was just random.
Random length of time, or random when it appears?
Random length of time. Like, you know, like a long moon or a long sun. And I don't know what this has to do with luck, but the whole conversation with luck got me thinking about the randomness, the RNG gods of the moon and the sun. And
30 days a night.
Yeah, like all of a sudden you're in Alaska for a day, but then you're back on the equator, so you have an extra long sun. I don't know.
That should be Elden Ring.
Oh,
Hey.
you know what? I completely forgot about day-night cycle game. Ghost of Tsushima actually kind of did that quite well.
Oh yeah, they had the stealth mechanics and stuff, right?
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
I will play that one day. That's another one. The hype got me, and I almost bought it, and then I was like, oh, I don't need it right now.
I bought it, I played it, and I liked it, and I just put it down.
I guess it's not really gambling, but in Mystical Ninja, I guess any of the Goemon games, you can use your currency as a weapon.
Mm.
Like, you can throw coins, or charge them up to throw, like, flaming coins.
I think that's fun. I think they're the ones where, like, you have a chance to do an extra attack are always fun. Like, that kind of luck-based mechanic where, like...
Yeah.
First
you know,
strike.
Yeah, those types of things. I think Mother 3 Mother 3 has the rhythm-based attacking, which is fun, but that is, like... That feels lucky that when you're doing it, like, 'cause you just... I mean, it's not luck, but you feel like, I'm doing a cool thing. What else? Critical hits are always... I mean, that's the ultimate luck-based game mechanic, right? It's just like, oh, look how much I did.
Yeah.
I got my 1% hit.
Yeah.
Dude, every Mario Kart game's luck-based. So, except me and Baby Park,
Yep.
where I will beat ass every time. But take away me and Baby Park, it's not even a racing game at that point. It's just who got the red shell, the blue shell at the right time, and
Yeah, it's just Twisted Metal for babies.
really. And you can beat Baby Mario at the same time in this one.
Yeah, that one is fully luck-based, though. I mean, it's positional luck, but that too.
I mean, come on. When you keep getting bananas over and
You know
over
you're
in
in
first
fourth
place.
place.
Yeah. Well, no, first place.
Yeah.
No, that too. Yeah.
There's just something about, like, high risk, high reward is, like, a little inviting.
I've got some game recommendations for you guys to close out the show this week. Mark, you should check out Solitarica. It's an RPG where you play solitaire.
Oh, shit.
Enjoy. Matt, you should play Mario Kart Tour. It's a Mario Kart game on your phone. They've updated it so you can turn your phone sideways now.
You got your. That's one complaint I had. Look, you got me to bite on one game, and it only took 6 years. You got another 6 years to ramp up that say. And who knows? You might be telling me to play Deathloop in 6 years. So.
Oh gosh, look with Mario Kart Tour. It's the approach. You treat it like the aforementioned toilet game, the long ago aforementioned toilet game. But it's just something to, like, I don't have time to do anything. I don't want to read people being mad. I'm gonna run a Mario around a circle for 3 minutes, and then look at that. I can pull a pipe. You ever pull your pipe? You know what I mean? You could pull a pipe and blast some gems. You know, that's the Mario Kart way. I don't have any other game recommendations. Actually, I have a lot, but I'm not. You're right. I got lucky with Final Fantasy 15. I'm gonna keep it calm.
I do have one recommendation coming off of last week. Mark was building his N64 list of must-play games or games that would be nice. WWF No Mercy. You forgot that one.
Yeah. There's a couple wrestling games I liked. I even like WCW versus NWO.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Used to play as Booker T in that
No,
one.
I was listening to that one 1 o'clock in the morning, driving to Taco Bell, fresh off the airport, wide awake, yelling, "Say no mercy! Say no mercy!"
It's got to be the patched version, though, right?
Right. Well, they will put the patched version out.
Cartoon, yeah.
NFL Blitz, another one.
Yes, yeah. Oh man, we did forget that. Were there hockey games on N64?
Yeah. I think I had one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a platform I totally missed hockey games on.
It's a good fighting game.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the show. The week ahead, I'm gonna be in Magic Land. I'm gonna try to get back to Final Fantasy 15, but I've been spending most of my time with 15 just fishing and doing side quests and hanging out with the dudes. I don't think, I've not completed chapter 2 yet, but I'm already like hours into the game, like many hours. So yeah, it's a much different experience this time around, but I like it a lot. Other than that, magic, man. Magic. Magic and like, I don't, Game Boy-ish stuff is happening. I've been looking at, and I think the Pokemon Black thing kind of tipped me that way. I'm still poking at that here and there, but where Pokemon Black was, I've got a couple minutes. I'll try and get to the next town, or I'll try and do the next gym. Has been, I've got a couple minutes. I'll do a round in Magic, or I'll build a deck real quick, or something like that. What are you guys getting into?
I'm going to hopefully try to finish Final Fantasy 15 by the time this next podcast rolls around. And I think I'm on a good pace. I don't know how many chapters there are, nor do I want to know.
I don't remember. If I had to guess, I'd say 13, because this was one of those games.
Right, but yeah, I don't remember. I remember knowing because of the whole bad chapter thing. But I don't.
What is the bad chapter? I don't even remember what you're talking about.
It was like the third to last one. Everyone fucking hated it.
I don't remember hating a chapter. Maybe I did, but
I heard like the gameplay totally shifted. It felt like it felt like this was like the rush chapter or something like. I just remember people really hating that chapter at the end of the game.
I know what you're talking about.
But like I said, I don't remember the chapter number now, and I also don't. I never knew why it sucked because I had no context for the game because I thought the game sucked from afar. So yeah.
Now you're ready to prove them wrong.
Well, let's get to this chapter.
Yeah, true.
That I don't know what's going to happen.
Mark?
So, I started to, like, dip my toes in this game called Blood Wash. So,
Hello.
I might see that through. So, it's a spoopy game. In case that didn't sound like it was for any reason. I took a little, I backed off a little bit from Cookie Clicker. It's just doing it here and there. It's not always running in the background. Hasn't been running during the recording. But, yeah, that game goes places. And
yeah.
I have it installed, but I haven't played it yet, and I'm still contemplating on playing Skyrim.
I was wondering when it would happen.
I talked about it too much recently, and now it's in my head. But even more so, the DLC sold me.
Vampires?
And werewolves.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit. I don't know.
Make sure you watch Kingsglaive going into that one, because I'm sure you need the context.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see.
I forgot when you said Blood. Blood Rain is out. The 2011 game, that anniversary, whatever, the
the one we talked about like a month ago.
Yeah, that one's out, and I kind of want to grab that and play through that a little bit, because Castlevania Grimoire of Souls is also out, and I do not like it, and I want to play a good game. So maybe Blood Rain. Now you got me thinking about Skyrim. Don't.
Oh boy!
If it wasn't on Game Pass, I wouldn't have even considered it.
That's
So
fair.
It is on Game Pass.
That's
Oh
fair.
right, because
They own.
duh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
One final recommendation for the week: stay off the internet. Don't watch trailers. Don't read hype. Don't be hyped. Get hyped with your friends and nobody else. Don't look at who cares what strangers think. That's the key. Don't care what strangers think. Who cares? That's it. Until next week. Thank you, Mart. Thank you, Matt, for listening. I almost called you Mart.
hey,
Hey, Mart.
add it to the list. I've been called Bart, so
Thank you, listener, for. Do you want me to do the Twitters, or do you want to skip the Twitters? I feel like this is the episode where we can skip the Twitters.
Well, how else are they going to see my 140 character review of everything I play this week?
Well, I guess if you want to do that,
No,
you want
that's
to follow
all right.
Matty Ice. 131. You can follow Mark at @og_mental, and you can follow the free cheese if you want to know when new episodes go up. Spoiler alert, it's every Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that's there if you want to follow that account too, at @somefreecheese. That's it. Till next time, podcast@thefreecheese.com is an email address. You can email us at. Be nice to your friends and strangers, and don't listen to what people think. Bye.